In this video, I'm going to show you how I painted my General Grievous 3D printed planter. The STL files for this project I downloaded from printables.com, and if you want to print this too, I have the link in the video description. I've already gone through my post-print processing on General Grievous to remove layer lines, and I used some matte tan spray paint for a base color. We're now going to start going in with our airbrush. I'm going to go over our tan with this pearly white color, and give that a couple layers. This airbrush paint kit I got off of Amazon, and I'll put the link below. After that's completely dried, I'm going to start moving in with our burgundy acrylic paint, and we're going to make our way around his eyes. Ultimately, we're going to do several layers of this burgundy, because the paint does dry thin. In between waiting, we're going to get some silver done around his ears. Well, I guess he doesn't have ears, but you know what I mean. So the same thing on this, we'll do a couple layers here. And in between, we're going to go back to doing the burgundy around the eyes, cleaning it up, and really refining. For the dry brushing process, I put a little bit of paint on the brush and then dab off all the excess. So we're keeping our brush relatively dry with only a little bit of paint on it at any given time. At first, the yellow is going to feel very intense, but this is definitely a trust the process moment. We're going to do some contouring in the cheeks with the dry brush and really accentuate this area. We're going to make our way around the entire head doing this dry brushing process, and definitely giving special attention to nooks and crevices. Areas like around the eye sockets, anywhere where we want that added depth and dimension. Next, we're going to do the opposite and go in with a dark wash. This technique is also a lot of fun. We're going to mix our brown paint with a lot of water and just loosely paint it on, and then dab it off with a scrunched up paper towel. Sometimes I'll let the paint sit on there for a few extra seconds before going in and dabbing it off, and I'm selective on how much I choose to dab off. In some areas I might dab off more, and then other areas like the crevices leave a little extra there to dry, and it gives it a really fun look. It's also one of the parts I think is the most relaxing part of this painting process, because you can't really mess it up. We're going to take our raw umber paint and now go back in with the eyes. The burgundy is dried nicely and looks great, but we're going to make it even darker and a little more sinister by adding in the raw umber. Unlike before when we painted in the eye sockets, we're not trying to go for maximum coverage here. We're actually spacing out our brush strokes a little bit, so we definitely have pops of burgundy coming through still. We're not trying to erase the color, we're just more of enhancing it and darkening it. Once we feel happy with the placement of the black, we're going to move into the eye sockets using our dark brown to really give them that sunken in look. I'm going to focus more heavily on the top versus the bottom of the socket and really darken that. Now it's time to go in with our yellow and start painting the inner eyes. We're going to do several layers of the yellow paint just because it is going to go on a little bit thin. Between painting the layers yellow on the eyes, I went in and painted the classic lines above his eyes. Unfortunately though, it doesn't seem I caught it on camera. So we can just do the fun part together of peeling off the tape. We'll go back in and do some more yellow, and between drying we'll do some more dark washes for him. Next, I'm going to use a sewing pin, and we're going to do some scars and scratches for General Grievous. Now, all these aren't random scars and scratches that I'm deciding where they go for him. I'm actually going through a reference photo for these. It's a little bit of a slower process because there's not much paint that you can hold on the tip of a needle, so I go back and forth a lot to dip it in the paint. And for this process, I'm just going with the brown paint. There is the occasional struggle of getting pet fur on the needle. Pet fur is the one thing in my house that there's never a lack of, and it finds its way in the most peculiar places. Oh, and there's some right now. The fun part of using the needle for this is it can be a little bit unpredictable and does lend itself to feeling very organic in how the scratches and scars come out. Once we finish up all of the scratches and scars, we're going to actually use the opposite side of the pin to add the little black dots to these silver lines. So whether we're using the needle or the round part, the pin is actually quite useful. We're not going to also stress those circles being absolutely perfect. We're going to start going into some light red into General Grievous's eyes to give kind of that bloodshot, unhealthy look, which is definitely going to add to the vibe. We're going to give it a little more random placement. Then we're going to start making this upside down triangle for his inner eye. I'm going to paint over that a couple times to darken it in, but between those layers we can work on more details on the inner eye again. So how sunken in his eyes are, we're going to assume the top part of his eyes are going to get the most shadows. So we're going to keep that the darkest. And I'm going to go in with our pin again and add a little more extra detail of randomness. And once I'm satisfied with the eyes, I'm going to paint on some silver, and just like the dark wash, we're going to dab it off with our paper towel. And we'll make our way around General Grievous doing this. Then we'll go back to our brown and do some more dark washes. After that, I'm going to do a dark wash with the burgundy in the inner eyes. And then we're going to pull some burgundy around his upper and lower eyelids using some dry brushing. And with that, we're ready to wrap up the last details on the eyes. So we're going to go around our dark upside down triangle with a little bit of yellow before adding the final white highlights in the eyes. And with that, General Grievous is painted and ready to be sealed. I'll be using this gloss clear coat. Now that he's dried, look how stunning he came out. Let's get him out into his new home in the craft cabinet. And just when you think it's going to be all smooth sailing, a pit droid on a speeder attacks you from above. Like, what the heck? While we won't be deterred, we might have pit droid repairs in our future, but for now we're going to get General Grievous hung up in his new home. Thanks for joining me on this project. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video.